Hello YouTube, Mountainous here, and I have a special video for you today. In today's video, I'll be doing a special book review on a book titled True Path of the Ninja. Now this book was written by CUMMINS and YOSHIE MINAMI. Now this book, The True Path of the Ninja, is a definitive translation of the SHONINKI, which is an authentic ninja training manual. Now before I start talking about this book, I want to show you the cover of this book. This is the cover of True Path of the Ninja. Now I want to go ahead and show you that if you take the paper off, it's an extremely high quality hardback book with high quality paper. It's a very nice quality book. I just want to give you a close-up look of the book before I start talking about it. Now before I get into this book review, I want to say one more thing. I'd like to personally thank CUMMINS for sending me this book to do a review on, and he also sent me a piece of artwork that I'll show you later in the video, which was a nice gift from CUMMINS. Now anyway, let's get on with the book review. On the inside cover of this book, there's a little paragraph that tells you what the book is about, and I want to read that to you. True Path of the Ninja is a translation of a 17th century instruction manual on how to be a ninja. This manual is broken up into 3 major sections and covers the following topics. What is a ninja and what equipment does he need? The skills of infiltration and information gathering. How to disrupt and to distract an enemy, and how to be mentally prepared to carry out a ninja mission. And another thing this book says in the beginning is that in addition to this outstanding collection of ninjutsu knowledge, this book includes never before seen instructions on defense against ninjutsu, a 500-year-old oral tradition from Natori Shinto-ryu, a 15th century sword school of Japan. Now let's get into this book review. And one more cool thing, I want to show you, when I opened up my book, there's a little personal note written from CUMMINS that says, "To Jason, I hope this helps with your training," and he signed it and he put his little stamp there. So anyway, that's pretty cool. So now I'm going to get into this book review. In the beginning of this book, there's a small foreword, and it's actually written by the Natori Shinto-ryu head teaching master. And one of the things he says about this book, he says, "True Path of the Ninja, which has been published here in the English language, in my opinion, is the most excellent masterpiece of all manuscripts on ninjutsu that have ever been written." And the next part of the book talks about the 3 essential requirements to becoming a ninja, and it also mentions and talks about Oda Nobunaga, who I have a reproduction of his armor, but it also talks about him and the ninja that went up against him and about the warring periods in feudal Japan. Now this book is a translation of a scroll written by Natori Masatake. Now this book, which is a translation of these scrolls, tell about what it is and the requirements to be a shinobi, the different tools needed to be a shinobi, how to work as a team, and many other ninja skill sets. Another thing I found interesting is CUMMINS mentions in the book how hard it was to translate this, because it had to go from Old Japanese language to modern Japanese language to English. And when that translation happened, it made it rather hard to read. And so it had to be slightly changed in its wording to make it so it didn't read like a Shakespearean textbook or something to that nature, is what he mentions. So the book is actually written in a way that it's really easy to understand, not the way it would have been if it was directly translated from Old Japanese to modern English. The next part of the book is a biography of Natori Sendero Masatake. It talks about how he was not only a samurai, but he was also a ninja. It talks about some of the different names he might have went by in ancient Japan, and it also gives a list of the grandmasters of Natori-ryu. Now before we get into the actual translations of the Shoninki, there's actually a part on Kishu-ryu, which is Natori-ryu, and then there's another part that actually talks about some different definitions, such as shinobi no jitsu, or ninpo, or ninpei, and it gives you some basic definitions of these words to help you in the reading of this book. And one last thing before we get into the opening chapters of the Shoninki is there's a part that talks about the different types of shinobis, the 5 types of spies, and the different skills of espionage. So now let's get into the opening chapter of the Shoninki. Now there's a lot of different parts in the Shoninki, and I'm going to talk about most of them and just give you a little information about them. But the beginning talks about some of the clothing and equipment that the shinobi would use. The most basic equipment that the shinobi would have with them, and it also talks about the different disguises that the shinobi might use to complete their mission. Now this next part I found extremely interesting. It talks about walking along unfamiliar paths in the mountains. Well, as everyone knows, I'm mountainous. I live in the mountains. And it also talks about walking in the snow and how the shinobi moved in certain situations. Now, I'm not going to tell you everything. You need to buy the book and find out for yourself. But one of the things it talks about is how to make an internal heater out of a piece of copper pipe and how to use it to keep yourself warm. And there's a cool drawing in the book of it, but I'm not going to show you because you need to buy the book for yourself. Now, let's get into the next part. Now the next part talks about infiltrating a forbidden mansion, but I'm not really going to talk about this chapter, but what I want to show you is at the beginning of each chapter, there's a little bit of writing, and it's basically Anthony Cummins talking about what the translation is going to be on that section, and then it goes into the actual translation of the Shoninki. Now that's pretty cool. It gives his insight into the translation. I realize this review is going to be longer than I planned, and I didn't want to tell you as much as I'm telling you because you need to go and buy the book and learn this for yourself. But I'm going to tell you some of the little sections that it starts to talk about here in the next few little chapters. It talks about infiltrating a forbidden mansion, and there's a little section on that. Learning from foxes and wolves, learning from cattle and horses. Now this is really cool when you read each section and how the shinobi would actually do similar things to how these animals would do to infiltrate. Now I'm not going to tell you anymore, but those are 2 interesting chapters. Now some of the other things it talks about in the opening chapters of the Shoninki is how to gather information from shrines and temples, how to be part of a 2-man or 3-man team of ninja, how to change your appearance, and other things like that. Now let's get into the middle section of the Shoninki. Now the middle section of the Shoninki is packed full of information. I'm only going to touch base on a few items. If you want to know more about it, you'll have to purchase the book. And at the end of the video, I'll tell you how you can purchase this book. Now, one of the things I really like about the middle section is there's a little bit more drawings and kanji and different things, and I just want to show you an example of the type of drawings that are in the book. A lot of things are written in the book also show the kanji for each section. So if the title is Changing Your Approach to the Shinobi Ways, there will be the Japanese wording and pronunciation and the kanji for that. Anthony Cummins' little insight on the chapter, and then the actual translation of the Shoninki, which I think is really cool. Defending yourself against an enemy, there's a chapter on that. Now, one of the cool things is charms and secret rituals, which this book tells more about the secret ritual and charms and spells and stuff than I've seen in any other ninja book so far. But we'll get into more of that in a little bit. But as you can see, there's the different kanji and the explanations of all these items. Sheltering under trees, the art of camouflage, how to make people tell you what they think. All kinds of information, reading someone's character by the face. Now I'm going to talk a little bit more about this. Now this next part I found really interesting. It talks about how the different features of your face, the height of your forehead or the length of your nose, or it talks about the different areas of the body, the shape of your belly, your teeth, your ears, how all these different things, these attributes would maybe tell something about how you are as a person or give you an insight into the person's persona. Now I know it's hard to believe that you could maybe tell someone's characteristics by how they walk or how their belly was shaped or how their teeth are long if they had a gap between them, but this is what the shinobi believed. Now, the one thing is cool is it talks about palm reading and whether maybe if you had thick hands or long fingers, but this part actually has a lot of illustrations and drawings of some of the different lines on the palm and what it might mean, or the characteristics it might give away, and it shows you the kanji and the Japanese word for each part. I found that rather interesting. Now we're going to get into the final chapters of the Shoninki. Now the final part of the Shoninki doesn't talk so much about maybe the tools the ninja would use and stuff like that, but it talks more about the philosophies, the mindset of the shinobi, some of the different ways that the shinobi would get into other people's minds and things like that. I'm not going to get into it too much. Like I said, if you want to know, you need to buy the book. But what we're going to get into now is the defense against a ninja. This is the last part of this book, and then I'm going to tell you about how you can purchase this book. Now we get into the last part of the book, Defense Against a Ninja. Now this is a 500-year-old oral tradition on ninjutsu by Natori Sendero, which is one of the oldest sword schools in Japan. Now if you subscribe to John Johnson on YouTube or Anthony Cummins, you will have heard them talk about things in this chapter. Now I'm only going to talk about one thing in this chapter because you need to buy the book. I'm not going to tell you everything. But one of the parts, as soon as I read it, I remember seeing them talk about the video on YouTube, is how the samurai would lay the tatami mats out in a certain way so that when the ninja were to sneak in stealthily, they would walk across these mats with a certain footstep and it would create a swishing sound and it would alert the samurai. It would make noise by the direction of how the mats were laid. Now chances are you might have seen that video. But anyway, this last section is packed full of information by the Natori Sendero talking about how they would have defended themselves against a ninja. Now, I'm not going to tell you any more about it. You need to buy the book for yourself. Now I'm going to tell you how you can find Anthony Cummins and how you can purchase this book. Now, before I give you the links on how to purchase this book and how to find Anthony Cummins, I'm going to go ahead and show you a close-up look of this book one more time. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you the artwork he gave me, and then I'm going to tell you how you can find Anthony Cummins and the True Path of the Ninja. Now here's the artwork that Anthony Cummins sent me. This is an amazing painting with a little personal message there, and it's a samurai. It's an amazing painting. I got to get a frame for it, but anyway, it will be on the dojo wall. Thank you, Anthony Cummins. Now I'm going to tell you how you can find him. Now, instead of putting the links on the screen like I usually do, I have so many links for him that I want to put them below the video in the description below. So go below the video and check out, and you'll see links to his Facebook, his YouTube, and where you can purchase this book and other books by Anthony Cummins. This is Mountainous, and I hope you enjoyed this book review video. Mountainous out.